Well, hello from another round of introductions in my parking garage. Welcome to Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and it is a very brisk morning. It's 25 degrees Fahrenheit here in Washington, D.C., and I'm about to hit the road for a towing road trip. I have to get my race car down to the shop, which is about 2 hours, about 120 miles away from home. And the fun part is we're doing it in something pretty interesting to me. We are here with the 2024 Chevy Silverado EV. This is an all-electric pickup truck that is meant to do real work according to Chevrolet, and we're going to see how it tows because the tow rating is 10,000 pounds. It makes nearly 800 horsepower and 800 pound-feet of torque. We'll talk about specifics here in just a second. And this is an RST first edition, so they're either sold in black or white, so this is what you're gonna get. But let's hit the road. I've got a lot of miles to do, and the whole goal here is to see how this is to tow with, because towing with electric trucks is still really tough to do right. This has a really long range. These have a range of about 440 miles according to Chevrolet and the EPA. The 2025s have a range of 460 miles due to some software revisions. So let's hit the road. We have to pick up my trailer, of course. I don't keep it here in the city, and then we'll hit the road and head to the shop. So why am I so concerned about having this thing at as close to a full charge as possible? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. So first thing is the range hit that literally anything takes while towing a trailer, especially one of my size. My trailer is an enclosed trailer. You've all seen it on the channel if you've followed us for any length of time now. And even with a gas truck or a diesel truck, usually more so with a gas truck, my range or my fuel economy gets cut kind of in half, and that's interestingly what happens with electric trucks as well. I did this with a Ford F-150 Lightning a couple years ago. I've used a Hummer EV SUV earlier this year, which is just the same Ultium platform but not quite as set up for towing in some regards. And in both cases, you know, they did fine, but the range gets cut. The other reason, though, that I care so much is because, like I said, it's cold out. The truck says, well, now it says it's 34 degrees. But in either case, I'm worried about this because batteries inherently don't do as well. They don't perform as well and store as much energy as easily when it is very cold out. Electric cars operate best kind of the same time that our human bodies operate best. So that's to say when the weather is pretty pleasant and, you know, when it's not extreme hot or extreme cold. So I just wanted to give myself the best chance because I don't want to stop if I don't have to charge. Similarly to you don't want to stop to get gas if you don't have to on a road trip. So with this truck stored in the garage overnight, it was probably 55 degrees down there. It says 420 miles of range at 97% state of charge. Now, this will all change as soon as I plug the trailer in and enter my destination. It'll all recalculate to understand the length and the weight of the trailer. I'll plug that all into the system. I'll show you that in a minute. And my range will update. Now, other things with this truck, since we're talking just basic table stakes, and it's cold outside, so I don't want to stand outside in front of this thing. So, basic specs, like I said, nearly 800 horsepower, 800 pound-feet, if you're rounding up and bad at math, like I am. 754 horsepower, 785 pound-feet of torque. It's 2 electric motors, 1 in each axle to give it all-wheel drive, and that's how you get all that power. And all that range comes from a large battery pack. So this is, I think, the largest battery pack in the industry of EV trucks. It is over 200 kilowatt hours. I think it's 214, and of that you get like 207 that are usable. That is a huge battery. It's really, really big. For reference, the F-150 Lightning extended range is about 145 kilowatt hours, and that is also what you're roughly going to get out of a Rivian R1T Max Pack. So the Rivian in particular is getting almost 400 miles out of a smaller battery. GM is taking a different approach to getting range. This is a much bigger truck than the Rivian. It's also much heavier. The curb weight of this is not officially published, but some magazines have logged it as about 9,000 pounds. So it's a big girl. To go with that, we ought to talk about suspension and all these things because some people have said it doesn't ride very well unloaded. And in my limited driving so far, I'm kind of tempted to agree. There's a lot of weight going on here, and you can just feel it. So there is 4-corner air suspension, so it can raise and lower as it needs to. It's also got MagnaRide dampers, which has been a GM hallmark for decades at this point. They're fabulous. Those can get stiffer and softer based on your drive modes, and also just as you as your driving demands it. So it's got both of those. They help with the ride, I think, but you can just tell the way it kind of, especially over a speed bump or something, you can feel it having to catch itself. And there's a lot of that, and I think it's simply from how much it weighs. But we'll see how it all firms up. There's a special tow mode, and that'll change the suspension in general. The other thing that it has, similar to the Hummer EVs, because this is all more or less related, is it's got four-wheel steering, which is fantastic. So that helps a lot in the city. I've driven it in DC a little bit here, and it makes it feel much more maneuverable than you think it should be, and it can make it more maneuverable in a lot of other cases. And that is important because this has a long wheelbase. It's about 145-inch wheelbase, and it is, I mean, that's substantial. It's really not anything too crazy compared to like any other half-ton pickup truck. Those are all like 130s to 140s as well. But that's what makes a vehicle feel large, is having a long wheelbase like that, and especially if you're trying to maneuver it in tight spaces. So having that four-wheel steering goes a really long way, I think. Now, on the flip side of that, having that long wheelbase means everyone's got a lot of room. I've got a ton of room in here. Passengers in the back seat are going to have a ton of room. So, you know, there's pluses and minuses to that in general. But those are just some basics. I'm going to get out here to the highway. I'm going to turn on Super Cruise and let the truck drive me out to where the trailer is stored, and then probably use Super Cruise on the rest of the trip too, because it works with the trailer. And that's a nice touch too. So catch you back at the trailer lot in a few minutes.
20 minutes later.
Okay, so first little fun fact. Okay, it says turn park assist off, objects attached. It can see there's a trailer hitch in the receiver here, and it keeps auto braking, so I have to turn this off. Other than that, I think we're good. Now the nice thing is the cameras on this are quite good, very high quality, and should make hooking this up easy. They've got a hitch view, which as I get closer here will be nice to see.
A few inches later.
So we're gonna set up a trailer profile. So I'm gonna add new trailer, and that's gonna let me track everything for the sake of mileage. And you can, you know, just plug something in and go. It's fine like that, but this just makes things a little more accurate. So I'm gonna say it's a cargo trailer, continue, and okay. Trailers that require, so I can set up some default things here, so it'll remind me to put it in tow haul mode. It's got a theft alert. If someone disconnects the trailer wiring, it will sound the alarm. It will also do a gross combined weight alert if you're over the GC gross combined weight rating, GCWR. You know the point. I haven't had enough coffee, and I have to enter the length and width of my trailer to complete the setup for trailer blind spot monitoring. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in my destination on the navigation here, because the truck has already decreased its estimated range by a little over 100 miles. So I got here, actually by more than 100 miles. So I got here, like I said, I had left my house with 420 miles on the Guessometer, and that was at 97%. I'm at 88% now, and it is saying, when I first pulled in here, it said that I could do 398 miles, I think. It used less mileage than the distance from my home to this storage lot. But in any case, it went from like 389 or 398, whatever it was, to 237. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my destination in here, and that will help it understand everything I'm doing. Now it says I will get there with 54% remaining on the battery, and that I could get back to where I am now with 23% left, and that is actually a bet I might take. We'll see how it goes, because literally across the street from the trailer lot are some DC fast chargers. So I wouldn't be totally SOL if I got here and only had, 15-20% left. But I'm gonna go ahead and hit start. I'm gonna go to trip 2 and reset trip 2 as my trailer trip, because currently I've done 29.8 miles driving this in general, and I've averaged 1.4 miles per kilowatt hour. Like I said, that'll be cut maybe in half, maybe not, but we're gonna see. So I'll reset trip 2, and I'll have that in the dash the whole time I'm driving. So that will be Nice and easy. So let's hit the road and do this thing. Well, hello from I-95 South. I am somewhere in Virginia, and I'm letting Super Cruise do all the towing for me. The best part about Super Cruise is that it works with a trailer, so it's hands-off driving and trailering if it knows the roads that you're on, which is many hundreds of thousands of miles of highway among other places. So I think it's the best technology to come out of GM in a long, long time. It's some of the best tech in the industry still, and I have so many good things to say. I've done over 2,000 miles with this trailer, with Super Cruise on combustion-powered and electric GM trucks and SUVs. It's just fabulous. But let's talk about how this is towing and the range and all the good stuff that you came here for. So first things first about the trailer. It is an aluminum 27-foot enclosed trailer. The box is 20 feet long. It's 27 feet from the hitch to the taillights, and it weighs about 6,800, 7,000 pounds with my car in it. With everything else, I've got tools and spare parts and wheels and all that good stuff back there. So that is what we're pulling, and I tow around 65, 70 miles an hour as a max, just because trailer tires aren't really meant to do much more than that. So I've got Super Cruise set at 72, and we're doing 68 right now because there's slow traffic. So that is kind of the setup here. As far as how the truck is to tow with, towing with an electric vehicle is the best towing experience you'll ever have, I think, because it's like having all the torque of a big diesel engine. Like modern diesel trucks have 1,000 plus pound-feet of torque, right? And this is not quite that, but it's still ample. It's almost 800 pound-feet. And the best part is you have no gears. There's no need for gears. So it just kind of does its thing, and wherever you need more power or torque, it just kind of goes. So that is the single best part. As far as other elements of how the Silverado EV is to tow with, it's doing a really nice job. So acceleration, of course, is not a problem. As far as the suspension, I mentioned it when I was leaving DC, how I thought the truck did not really, it didn't ride well, to be totally honest. I think the issue there is that when it's unloaded, you have a lot of unsprung weight. And so unsprung weight, if you're not aware, is anything that the suspension is not handling. So effectively your wheel hubs, your brakes, your wheels, that all is unsprung weight. In this case, you've also got the axles and the drive motors. So everything here is big because this is a big truck. It is a heavy truck. So there is a lot of unsprung weight or unsprung mass. And I think what that means is that the suspension, no matter how well calibrated it is just kind of fighting a pretty challenging battle in what it's got to deal with. When you're loaded up with a trailer, you've got more weight on the back of the truck. You've got more weight overall for payload, gross combined weight. And I think it just settles down a little bit more, and it feels honestly night and day difference. I have zero complaints about how the suspension feels right now with a trailer hooked up. There is a tow haul mode in the drive mode screen, and that does change how the suspension reacts. It's also going to change how your throttle reacts. It kind of dulls the whole experience, which is a good thing. It makes it just a touch less touchy, if you will, and I'm okay with that for the sake of pulling a trailer. I don't need to like pull the tablecloth out from under my race car every time I accelerate. So still gives you all the full power and torque. It just makes it a little easier to manage without thinking about it, on top of everything else. Now, the truck did recalculate, like I mentioned, as soon as I plugged the trailer in. We've done about 100 miles of trailer towing, and the efficiency is better than I thought it would be. We were at 1.3 miles per kilowatt hour before I started towing. It's showing 0.9 right now, so it didn't cut the efficiency in half like I thought it would. It's doing better than that. However, the estimated battery percentage when we get to the shop is down to 33%. If you remember, it said it was going to be at like 54% when I started this video. So it's not that. We are going to have to charge on the way home somewhere. The good news is there's plenty of options here on the I-95 corridor. Most of them are 350 kilowatt stations, which is good because the battery is gigantic and you need a 350 station to really charge it at any sort of high rate of speed. So that'll be fine. It's not really going to mess with my overall run. I do this run to and from the shop a few times a year, and if I'm driving anything that's not a diesel, I will have to stop once to fill up to get home. So it is not a problem, and this is the first electric truck I've driven that had enough range to make the experience identical to what I've had with a gas-powered truck. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. To get to the shop with a third of my fuel remaining is honestly the same as I always kind of deal with in a gas-powered anything. So that is all fine and good. Back to how this is towing. If you're slowing down, you still have regenerative braking, and that works really, really well, especially with a trailer. If you're going downhill, this route I'm on does not have a lot of hills to deal with, but if you're doing a mountain pass or something and you need more braking going down a hill, it's going to be really nice because you can just kind of lift throttle and it will, oh my goodness, come on Jeep. You just kind of lift off the throttle and it will regenerate as best as it can. I did this with a Hummer EV SUV back in June, and I actually gained like 4 or 5 miles of range as I went down this ultimately not very big mountain pass. It was like 4 degrees of decline. It was really, really cool. So that is always a little perk. And then when you do need the brake pedal, which is not going to be often, it is blended nicely. The whole thing works just really well. So kudos to the brake calibration team. And then steering, it's a truck. Steering is steering. I would not say this is especially sporty. I would not say it gives you an especially high amount of feel, which, fine, it's a truck. It's not supposed to. But it is all fine and good. So as far as towing experience, this is doing a really, really nice job. I am very happy with it in that regard. As far as the driver experience for spending a lot of time sitting in here, the cabin is well laid out. I appreciate what they've done with the gauge cluster screen. Everyone's going to screen gauge clusters, and I kind of hate it because a lot of them don't use the screen layout very well. In this case, it is nice. You've got a lot of options. That is good. This main infotainment screen, I'm going to go on a little rant, and it's worth it, I promise. This is the Google built-in Android Automotive operating system, right? And GM has said that their Ultium vehicles will not have Apple CarPlay because they want to effectively control the whole experience. They say you've got better integration with the vehicle systems, including your state of charge, your motor temperature, anything that relates to an EV, and then also it can help you get to charging stations as efficiently as it can, allegedly. It uses Google Maps. It works fine, but the problem I have, or the question I have rather, for GM is how long are you supporting the modem in this truck to make sure that you will have cell connectivity? And then how long are you supporting the subscription required to have cell connectivity? Will this all work in 20 years? And I'm really hesitant to say yes, it will. And I hope it will, because I think a vehicle should last 20 years, especially with advances in manufacturing and everything since cars of many decades past, right? This should all last just fine. So what are they doing to ensure that this all stays online, is functional, and stays out of a junkyard? It's not exclusively a GM problem. There are other manufacturers that don't have CarPlay that are kind of taking the same approach, and every new car is connected in some way. So I have the same question for everyone. However, GM omitting CarPlay in this truck makes this an even stronger point, because, okay, in the future, if I have some other vehicle that loses cell connectivity, I can still plug in the latest iPhone that, as long as I have a cell plan, it's going to work. You're just mirroring the screen. So that is, that's just my kind of rant and my frustration. And while we're on the topic of rants, and while we're on the topic of touchscreens, I'm not done yet. Much like the Chevy Colorado and the GMC Canyon, engineers or interior people have decided that moving the headlight control to the touchscreen is the best idea. And that is a hill that I am choosing to die on, in that it is a terrible idea. I think other controls could be moved to a touchscreen. I don't love touchscreens in general. What is interesting is that there are plenty of other physical controls in here. You've got a nice volume knob up here, your climate controls are down here, the steering wheel is physical. There's a lot of buttons going on, which is great because that's how an interior of a car should be. So to move the headlight control to the touchscreen, I find mystifying, because I think headlights are something you should be able to easily feel for and operate without taking your eyes off the road ever. Because oftentimes when you want them, it is not the conditions that I'm driving in today. You've entered a rainstorm, you've entered a tunnel, you're hooking up a trailer and you're towing, you want to make sure they're on right away. You park and get out and, oh, I left them on because I just did that on purpose. You got to take them and put them back to auto. To do it through a screen, I think, is just a weird quirk of an interface, and I don't understand the point behind it. And I personally think it's an unsafe, bad decision. So I'm dying on that hill. Let me know in the comments if you care. Driving in here, cabin experience, all the good stuff. Visibility out the front is very good. The dashboard is nice and low despite the big screen. I've got good visibility out here. I know exactly where the corners of the truck are. The door sills are also fairly low. That is good. Mirrors are good, although the passenger door mirror is just kind of odd. There's something about it where the perspective is throwing me off. There's plenty of mirror size there. It's just kind of strange. So I don't understand that, and that might just be a me thing. There is a digital rearview mirror. You can turn it on or off. I've got it off because there's nothing to see with the trailer back there. And all of that is pretty good. Seat comfort. I have a good seating position. I'm 6'1", pretty even split of legs and torso. That's all fine and good. What is less fine and good is just general seat comfort. I don't especially love it. It's not awful, but it doesn't feel quite like I would want a seat to be in a truck that costs this much. And that brings us to the price. This is a $96,000 truck. And, you know, much like when a Tesla first came out, you're paying for the technology first and foremost. And I don't think GM is claiming that this is the world's most luxurious truck, right? They're going to be doing, they have the Sierra EV is already on sale. GMCs are historically a little bit nicer than a Chevy. And then, you know, Cadillac has the Escalade IQ coming out and all that. But for 96 grand, I think the seats should be a little more comfortable. I think the interior materials are fine. I wouldn't say they're on that level necessarily. I don't know. The interior of this is perfectly pleasant as far as how you interact with it. It's just, I don't know if it's $96,000 nice. All right, so we are done with lunch. I dropped the race car off before lunch, and we arrived at the shop with 29% state of charge. So right about what the truck said it would do ultimately, although it was very optimistic at that 54% or whatever when I first left the trailer lot. So in any case, dropped the car, stopped and had lunch with a couple friends, and now I'm gonna head back towards home. I'm going to stop and charge along the way. I've picked a GM Ultium EVgo station that is about 28 miles from here. It's gonna leave me with 20% battery by the time I get there, so it says. And I'm using that because GM has partnered with EVgo and Flying J truck stops to build these charging stations. They have said that some of them will have pull-throughs for trailers. I don't think this one does, but either way, that's where I'm going because it should be the best experience. If it doesn't work or something's broken or whatever, I've got plenty of other options with Electrify America and EVgo along the route because I-95 is a big travel corridor. So we're at 29% now. It says 63 miles of juice. I've got 28 miles to go, so we'll be good. Let's head out. Oh, I've stopped here before at this Wendy's. Look at this. Okay, we're gonna see about how to plug in here and how this is gonna work with the trailer. I might get lucky. Every time I get to a charger like this, I always feel this sense of urgency of like having to get there right away once I can see it, and I can see that there's no one there, as if suddenly 12 other people are gonna materialize and just like take all the spots. That's like, that doesn't happen, but. Okay, excuse you, F-150. My charging port is on the back left side. So where am I gonna put this whole thing? Now, I'm not worried about blocking people. So actually, here's what I'm gonna do. Pull right in like this, and pull right like this. And I think that'll reach and not block anybody. Neat. All right, so we rolled in with 15% state of charge, 32 miles. And I'm gonna say tap to start, plug-in connector. And the nice thing here is that these are all 350 kilowatt chargers, because like I said, we need that for this truck. So, I'm gonna have to start my session in EVgo. Flying J. Which one? 12989, left side, start. This is 48 cents a kilowatt hour because I'm not a like subscription member. So it might end up being kind of expensive. But if you owned one of these, it wouldn't be all bad. And I like how these tell you what it's doing as far as checking the cable safety and talking to your vehicle and all that good stuff, because not every charger does that, and you're left to kind of wonder what's happening. There we go, matching voltage. All right, so what does the truck want? It's preconditioning. There we go, 15%. Let's see what it ramps to. It should hop pretty quick up to something close to 350. We're already at 165. This is always fun to watch. And look at that, 323. I'll take it. So we're gonna let this charge. It's gonna take probably 25, 30 minutes. I don't know. I need to use the restroom and grab a snack and everything. So I'm good. It's nice they've got this charger. There's a, ma'am, this is a Wendy's right here. And then you've got the whole Flying J truck stop here where there's a Golden Corral, a Cinnabon, and whatever else you get at Flying J for snacks and things. So I think we're good. All right, so we are leaving the Pilot Flying J. I was here with the charger going for 35 minutes, almost to the dot, and I went from 15 to 80% state of charge. So not really terrible. I maintained pretty high charging speed the whole time. These are rated up to 350 kilowatts, and it launched almost immediately up to about 325 and held it there, and then dropped to about 300 when it got up to like 45-50% state of charge. And then of course it does drop after that. I stopped at 80 because that's where any EV is going to have that charge curve drop pretty significantly. So I don't need more than that to get out of here. And once I drop the trailer and get my efficiency back, I will be good to make it home after I leave the trailer lot and drive around and charge whenever after that. So generally pleased. I've done 146 miles so far, still at 0.8 miles per kilowatt hour, and this trip in general is just kind of the same as what it would be with a gas-powered truck. Just my method of fueling is a little different. So generally really impressive. You know, there's some things I don't like about this Silverado EV, which I have made clear. However, it is towing very well, and I think this truck has proven that you can use an EV to tow any appreciable distance. You just have to have one with enough range to start. Now the issue here, come on, let's go. Thank you, truck. Got a Penske truck just kind of hanging out. So I think this is proven, like, you can use an EV truck to tow. You just need one that can start out with a high enough amount of range, which makes perfect sense. So this having 440-ish miles of rated range is proving to be useful. And I really think if we do this again later into 2025, and I'm going to VIR, for example, that is double the distance one way. I could use that exact charging stop or some further south and make it to the track and be good. And the benefit there is once you're at the racetrack, if you have a power pole, like you have brought your RV, for example, you just use that and do level 2 charging and charge this while you're there all weekend long, and you'd end up leaving the track full or close to it. So I think this would work. I'm gonna ask Chevrolet if I could take another one later into 2025 and give it a shot. Like I said, they've got higher range for the 25s anyway, but this is the first EV SUV or truck I've driven, including GM's own Hummer EV. This is the first one I've driven where it seems like this would work. Do I think the price is kind of high? Yeah, I talked about that already, but otherwise this will do it. I don't love the fact that you have to have a Mondo-sized battery that weighs probably as much as my race car to make it happen. That's going to be the difficult thing, and that's as the technology evolves, the battery tech. I know Toyota and others are really talking big on solid-state batteries, for example. That will all evolve and improve. But this is really cool. So thank you for coming along on my journey of what is ultimately 4 hours and change running up and down I-95. It's much more fun to talk at a camera versus just sit here and contemplate my existence and listen to funny Christmas music or whatever I'm doing. But yeah, appreciate the views. please like, share, comment, spread this far and wide. I have really enjoyed spending some time in this Silverado EV and towing with it. So stick around. We do a lot more towing videos here and other fun stuff with all sorts of cars, trucks, and SUVs. If you want to connect with other LGBT automotive enthusiasts and motorsports competitors, outmotorsports.com is your destination. We've got an entire online community there. We've got a bunch of events being planned for 2025. That whole calendar just dropped. So keep an eye out. Registration will open for all those very, very soon. And we hope to see you for any and all of that and be your new best friends. Till next time, if it's cold where you are, please stay warm. Otherwise, stay safe, be well. See you for the next one.